you're joining us for the first time, or maybe you weren't here last week, we started a new series last week. Actually kind of started it on Easter and really jumped in last week. It's called Liberating Love, rescuing love from a world that's hijacked it. How many of you know there are a lot of interesting ideas about what love actually is? Wouldn't you agree? The way our world portrays it, what we're shown, and what we've been conditioned by media, what we've been conditioned by society. Maybe we've grown up in homes that love was not functioning in those homes. So we've got weird ideas about what love is. And last week we looked at love in marriage. And that was an interesting dynamic, that message. You can watch it online. We looked at some of the beliefs that hijack love in marriage. And the verse that we looked at last week, which is actually going to move us even farther ahead this week, it's a powerful description of love from Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verses 6 and 7. Now, if you have never heard of or never read the book, Song of Solomon, after today, you are going to want to read it. Because what we're going to give you today is just a taste. And it's a very interesting book. It's in the Old Testament. It's a poem or a song. And Song of Solomon 8:6, it says, "Set me as a seal over your heart." This was actually the verse my husband proposed to me with. It was pretty, I still remember the day we were in a park. We were walking. I had no clue at all. And it was actually, we were going to prayer that night. We had Saturday night prayer. Every Saturday night we were going to, and so we were killing time before we went. And he started quoting this verse. And I'm like, what are you doing? Set me as a seal over your heart. Wear me as an emblem on your arm. For love, listen to this, love is as strong as death and jealousy as relentless as the grave. Love flares up like a blazing fire, a very ardent flame. No amount of water can quench love. A raging flood cannot drown it out. If a person tried to exchange all of his wealth for love, then he would be surely rejected. You know, what a powerful description of love. And so today we're talking about liberating love, liberating passion, specifically sex. Here we go. Yes, we are talking about sex in church today. If you have children you have not had the talk with, you probably want to take them over to Voltage because they're going to be hearing the word sex a lot in the next half an hour. They might just start repeating it at home while they're playing with their coloring or playing trucks or something. Who knows? So, but you know what? I think it's important that we talk about sex in church because sex is God's idea. Our world and our society and media has hijacked it. And this is one of the things, man, I think if anything as the church, if we could take back, if we could liberate something, and I'm not talking about liberating free sex and it's not the kind of liberating we're talking about. But man, if there's anything we as the church could really bring hope and bring healing and bring health to, it's this area when it comes to relationships. And you know, sex is actually, it's God's idea. Sex is not just a byproduct of our humanity or part of our animal instincts. If that's all it was, it wouldn't be such an issue in our world today. And we live in a very sexually saturated culture. Isn't this true? And the beauty and strength of sexual love has been hijacked by our world. And so this is going to apply to every person here, whether you are a teenager, a single person, maybe you're married, maybe you were married at one time, maybe you've got children in your world that you want to, hey, listen, I got some good wisdom for you. Or maybe this is, you know, put it on the back shelf. Someday this will be relevant for you. And the beauty and strength of sexual love has been hijacked by our world. And almost everything society is telling us and saying about sex today is not only destructive, it's dangerous. Because it can wreck lives. It wrecks marriages, and it wrecks individuals. And this is because one of the biggest lies about sex is that sex is just physical. It's just physical. As long as no one gets pregnant, as long as no one gets an STD, and as long as no one gets hurt, it's okay. Have at her. Have fun. Just, you know, it's over. Just kind of move on and, you know, go try an experiment with someone else or try something new. If sex was just physical, it's over, just move on. See, the problem with that is something deep down inside of us knows that's not right. Because Why are some of the greatest regrets that people have usually sexual in nature? Somebody who starts out the conversation, I've never told anybody this before, but you know what? They're not going to tell you, I stole somebody's car. Like usually it's usually something that has to do with, if sex was just physical, see, there's something that we know isn't quite right. Why is rape so much more devastating for a woman than being beaten up? Why is it that a child who's been sexually abused, when they grow up, they become an adult, and, they can't just move past that abuse and just put it off and just move on and jump right into healthy, flourishing, wonderful relationships? See, there's something that we inherently know, that sex isn't just physical. There's something about it in the soul. There's something about it. There is a deep soul and spirit connection that goes with sex. And that's how God designed it to be. Let's look at Genesis 2:24 and 25. It says, this is the reason. Everyone say the reason. This is the reason that a man leaves his father and mother and embraces his wife. That word means cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. That's not just metaphorical. It's being very specific. In those days, the man and wife were both naked and not ashamed. See, this is the way God designed it. Naked, not ashamed, leaving mom and dad, cleaving, man and woman, husband and wife. Kissy, kissy, kissy. And a lot more than that. See, so we've got that one extreme. Sex is all just physical. And then we got another extreme that's equally as dangerous. Sex is all about passion. It's just passion. And yes, passion is involved in sex. But what we've been conditioned to believe is passion actually is not passion. And that's what we're going to look at today. And we're going to start by looking at passionate love from the love manual that God gave us, the Song of Solomon. Now, I made this comment last week. This book in the Hebrew culture uses such specific and explicit language that Jewish men were encouraged not to read it until they were 30, because it was very explicit, people. I will just tell you one thing. After we read through this, if you want to go up and you just want to Google euphemisms from Song of Solomon, you can find out what apples really are. You can find out what a garden really is. Oh my goodness. It'll make you blush. Song of Solomon. Okay, so these first few, we're going to look at what God-honoring sex within marriage is meant to be. And so our first review, so we're going to look at this again. It's not too racy, but we'll get racy later on. Trust me. Look at these verses we read at the beginning. Love flares up like a blazing fire, a very ardent flame. Look at these words. Love flares up like a blazing fire, a very ardent flame. No amount of water can quench love. A raging flood cannot drown it out. Look at those words for this type of love. Flares up, blazing fire, ardent flame. Nothing can put it out. We're talking about a big bonfire here, folks. That's love. That's on fire. And one of the words for passion in Scripture, it's a word called thumos. And it literally involves words that have to do with flame and heat and boiling over. That's what passion is describing. Now, here's the question. Do you get a blazing fire? How do you get a blazing fire? Is it instant? You got to build it. A blazing fire is not instant. You gotta build it. It takes a long time to get a big fire. You gotta have the right fuel in the right environment and with lots of tending in order to get a blazing fire. Everyone say blazing fire. And see, what society has hijacked, they sold us this lie that passion is this out of control, uncontrollable, we couldn't help ourselves kind of frenzy. Come on, that's what we see in movies. And they use the word passionate to describe the kind of love where you got a couple who's, they can't help themselves. They're stripping their clothes off. They're stumbling over furniture. They can't make it to the bed. We couldn't help ourselves. It was so passionate. You know what? I want to dispel a myth today. That is not passion. That is not passion. They might use the word passionate, but that is not passion. It is a bomb. Bombs explode, fires are built. Bombs kill things.
Very good.
That's good.
Passion is a blazing fire that's built over time in the right environment with the right fuel, and that takes tendering in order to build. See, real passion is what allows intimacy to develop, and intimacy becomes fuel for passion to continue to grow. See, this is really what our people are looking for. It's not just sex that they're looking for. Passion and intimacy are two very different things. And see, what people are looking for in sex is actually this thing called intimacy. It's that transparency. See, you don't get intimacy with a bomb, people. You don't. You can't trust a bomb. But intimacy is built in an environment of trust. Intimacy is transparency. It means into me see. What do you want? Do you want passion or do you want a bomb? One grows slowly over time, the other explodes and kills things. See, we've been conditioned to believe that passion and patience they're exclusive. But the reality is, you actually can't have genuine passion without patience. You can't. And see, what we've been conditioned to believe is passionate. We couldn't control ourselves, and we couldn't help ourselves. It just happened. It doesn't just happen. That's not passion. That is a bomb going off. Patience is needed to build and tend and stoke a fire. Everyone say patience. I hope you're getting this. It's really quiet. I want to look at 3 times. There's a really interesting phrase in the Song of Solomon. It's in 3 different verses, and it's this. Do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time. Do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time. Do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time. Everyone say, don't wake up love.
Don't wake up love.
Don't wake up love, especially if she needs her coffee in the morning. Why don't you want to wake up love too soon? Because you know what? When you wake up love too soon, you actually miss out on passion. What you are doing is you're setting off a bomb. And what you get instead is something that will destroy you and destroy a relationship and set you up for a lot of frustration later on in life. Don't awaken love. What it does is that bomb can destroy your capacity for real intimacy. Why do marriages struggle in this area of sex? You know what? Let me just say this, and every married couple knows this. It is not the honeymoon. The honeymoon is just this upward climb for the next 30 years of your marriage. You have times when sex is like, this is awesome, and then it kind of plateaus. And then it's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to be content with the plateau for the next 30, 40 years of our marriage? Or are we going to add some fuel to the fire and stoke it and get that baby going again? It's so quiet. This is hilarious. Don't wake up love too soon. Sex is such a powerful force. It is one of the most powerful forces that God has given to us. No other force do we have available to us where one human soul fuses to another. There is no other force that God has given to us, no other power that will fuse a human soul together like sex does. Let's forget about just the spiritual, the soul side. We're talking medically. It happens in your brain. When a couple, when they fall in love and through sex, there's a chemical in your brain that's released called oxytocin. Some of you might be familiar with this. And what that oxytocin is, it's called the chemical bonding agent. It literally fuses in your brain it fuses you to the person that you have sex with. And so you're imprinted on their brain. You imprint each other on each other's brain. God designed that bond over a lifetime in marriage to super glue a couple together. Isn't that amazing? God didn't just say, do this and suffer through it. It's going to be hard, but you're stuck with each other for life. He knew how difficult it would be in our world. And so he put this chemical in our brains that set off at the right time. It would imprint you on that person that you said I do to and you're married to for the rest of your life. And all of a sudden there's this super glue bond that begins to grow for the rest of your lifetime together. And that bond, but what happens is when you have sex with one person and then you know what, that relationship maybe breaks off and then you go have sex with another person and then maybe have another person and you're just flat out, you're the casual super dater and you're sex here and sex there and it's sex everywhere. You are imprinting, your brain is now imprinted with a whole bunch of people. That's called brain damage. Literally, because it damages your capacity to actually bond with one person. And you wonder, why do I feel empty in this relationship? Why do I feel like something's lacking? Intimacy is a bonding that God created. See, the bride in Song of Solomon in 4:12, listen to what he says. Mike's going to read this a little bit more. It's pretty, He says, she hadn't awakened love yet. Listen, this is the groom speaking to his bride. He said, you are a locked garden. That garden, that's her body, okay? You are a locked garden, my sister, my bride. No, she was not his sister. Just, that was a poetic term. You are a locked garden, my sister, my bride, open only to me. A spring closed up tight, a sealed fountain. That's kind of descriptive. See, the only relationship strong enough to handle the power of sex is within a marriage relationship. Within a marriage relationship, a man and woman who have committed themselves for a lifelong commitment, that is the only relationship strong enough to handle the power of sex. It's a lifelong commitment. A lifelong commitment is a long time, isn't it? A long time to build a fire, to stoke the fire, tend the fire. A long time. Honey, you want to come up and... You do. Let me just say this. You don't want a bomb. Quick explosion and it's over.
No, you don't want that.
You want passion that builds slowly over time. You go at her. You have fun with this.
There's not a guy in the room that would want that introduction.
I was not meaning that personal
That's
in
why
any way.
I drive a big truck, everyone. That's
Read your verses.
Okay, so this is a chapter in the Bible that's a chapter on foreplay, my friends. And this is Song of Solomon, chapter 4.
Married couples, this is to give you some fuel.
This is,
if you need some fuel.
and you have to understand, this is all metaphorical. And to the Jewish mind, a lot of this was represented, some pretty significant things. But as he's talking to his wife, he says, "You, my love, are beautiful, so beautiful. Your eyes are like doves nestled behind your veil. Your hair moves as gracefully as a flock of goats leaping down the slopes of Mount Gilead." You might want to try that line.
You got goat
Your
hair.
hair looks like a flock of goats running down the hill. He is complimenting her on her beautiful hair, and he goes on to compliment her teeth. Your teeth are pearl white like a flock of sheep, fresh up from a wash. It's kind of funny, but what he's doing is he's building her up. He's not just going for the garden. He's building his wife up first. And your lips are as red as scarlet threads. Your mouth is beautiful. Your cheeks. He's starting with her face, her person, and then he starts moving down. Your neck is elegant like the Tower of David, fit perfectly stone by stone. And, he's talking here, there hang 1,000 shields, the shields of mighty men. He's talking about her poise, her bearing. And then he keeps moving down. Your breasts, woo! Your breasts are like two fawns, twin gazelles grazing in the meadow of lilies. Like two fawns, guys. This is a hint here. Fawn. If any of you are hunters, you don't. If you see the deer out in the meadow, you don't. Hey, fawn! They will be gone. Yeah, you have to approach fawns delicately. All right. As the day breathes, this morning breathes, shadow turns and flees, I will go up your myrrh mountain and climb your frankincense hill. Wow. Yeah, that means exactly what you think it means. This is like, I want you all day. I want you all night. You're so beautiful. You're without blemish. My heart is captive. And Monica just talked at verse 12. You're a locked garden. She's a virgin. She's kept himself for him alone, and he's kept himself for her. And then he goes on, your sprouts are like an orchard of pomegranates and exotic fruits with henna and nard. It's a Jewish thing. All right. He's describing her lady parts here with nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with rows of frankincense trees and myrrhs and aloes and all the finest spices. My bride, you are a fountain in a garden, a well of life-giving water flowing down from Lebanon. This is, how he's building her up, that you are the focus of my passion, and our relationship is the only relationship that I'm going to be satisfied in this area in. And then he says, stir north wind and come south wind, blow upon my garden, let its perfumes flow. You need to look that up in what she said. It does actually mean what you would think it means. And then she says, let my love come to his garden and let him eat his luscious fruit. Woo! That's just a little manual for love right there, baby. Don't laugh too hard.
Oh, yep, that's all in the Bible. God-honoring passion. Everyone say God-honoring passion. Here's some practical things. Singles, you know what? You want a bomb? Go ahead, wake up love too soon. Go ahead, be casual with your sex. Go ahead, have sex outside of marriage. Go ahead and do it. But this is what you need to know. You are setting off a bomb. You will not have passion. And what you are doing, you could seriously cripple yourself for intimacy later in a relationship. If you give in to a sexual urge, you do not get intimacy. You get a bomb. Giving in to a sexual urge with porn or masturbation. Yes, there might be an exciting explosion that goes off. But you know what? It's a bomb. It is not passion. And what you're doing is you're setting yourself up to seriously damage your ability to actually experience intimacy because you're conditioning yourself to only know how to pleasure yourself. And what happens is you end up really creating great heartache for yourself in the future and for your future spouse. If you're dating, giving into a sexual urge, sex before marriage, you get a bomb. Here's the thing, sex, when you give it away, you don't have it anymore. Now, why would you want to give something to someone who has not committed themselves to you in an exclusive marriage relationship, who is committed to being able to guard not only what you give him, but your soul, because it's a soul and a spirit thing that happens in sex. If you want real passion, you will wait for that exclusive relationship called marriage. You will wait. Married couples giving in to a sexual urge with porn, with an affair, with whatever, flirting with an affair. You know what? You're setting off a bomb that could destroy your family, destroy your kids, destroy your grandkids. Do not do it. Now, the good news is the grace of God is there if this is already part of your story. There is absolutely no condemnation because everything today can be completely new. Completely different. And that is the power that Jesus Christ gives to us. That is the power of his grace to heal and to restore. And he literally makes brand new. All we need to do is trust in him and say, God, I want something different starting today. This is what I want. Here are some practical things how not to set off the bomb. If you're single, if sex and the bomb has been an issue in the past for you, you might want to take the 1-year challenge and not date for a year or 6 months or whatever you need. You might need to make that and just say, you know what, I want something different. I want something different. If you're single or you're dating, limit the amount of time, the 3 T's. I like how Craig Rochelle calls it, the 3 T's, time, talk, touch. Limit the amount of time you spend together. Limit where you spend that time. Hello, if you do not want to set off the bomb, do not go on a holiday together. If you're not married, just don't. Just don't. Is this legalistic? No, it's called safety. It's bomb safety. Bomb safety. Limit how much you touch. What kind of touch? You know what, girls, you're 10 times more sensitive to touch than guys. So it's not just guys touching girls. Girls, you watch how much you're touching the guys. Because that's waking something in you. Married people, married couples, if you want passion, you know what? You will wait for your spouse. And you know what? There are seasons in marriage where it requires waiting on each other. And waiting isn't a passive sit back and wait till it gets better. Waiting is an active word. When you're waiting on your spouse, you're waiting. You're not going to give in. You're not going to give in to an affair. You're not going to give in to the temptations. You're not going to give in to other things that could be a quick explosion going off. But you're going to wait, and you're going to wait. And what do you do in wait? Waiting is active. You know what? What kind of fuel are you going to add to that fire? Maybe it's we got to book a weekend away, and we are just putting it on the calendar, and it's going to be our sex holiday. And you go get a good book. You want a great book? What is that? Pillow and Dinto and what was that book? Intimacy Ignited? Intimacy Ignited, I think. Intimate Issues. There we go. Intimate Issues and Intimacy Ignited. 2 books by authors named Dillo and Pintas. Yep. Weird names. You know what? They're great books. Get a good book on God-honoring sex. Take it on your holiday and read and practice. You know what? Maybe it's at home. Maybe you just need to change the way you speak to each other. Maybe you need to build each other up. Maybe you need to serve. Maybe you need to encourage each other. Girls, maybe you need to respect him. Maybe you need to build him up with your words. Waiting is active. And you know what? I want us to all stand. As I already said, God's forgiveness and grace for the past is here more than what you could ever imagine. God looks with absolutely no condemnation on you. He says, I have paid for everything, every mistake, every failing, every weakness. And I want to bring freedom today. I want to bring healing, and I want to give you a new start. I am so serious. This room is full of people I know that say, yes, it can change in an instant. It can change, and you can walk out of here with a load of guilt lifted, with a load of shame lifted, with a freedom, and with even a new strength to be able to say no to the things that you haven't been able to say no to before. I want you to close your eyes, and we're going to pray. God, we thank you for the amazing grace that we have through your Son. God, we thank you for forgiveness. We thank you for, Father, the life that we have in Jesus that makes us new. And God, we thank you even today. God, I just even right now, I am so not going to ask for a show of hands. I'm just going to pray. God, I just even right now, I pray and I come into agreement with everyone here, Father, where there are regrets about the past or even where things aren't as they should be right now, whether they're single, whether marriages that are struggling in this area or in other areas. God, I thank you for your supernatural grace. I thank you for your supernatural power that is right now beginning to make things new. Father, as people reach out and they put their faith and their trust in Jesus Christ and what he's done and what he's made possible. God, we thank you. And you know what? Just with every eye closed, we're going to pray a prayer together, saying yes to God's gift of salvation. Because you know what? This was the ultimate act of passion that God showed us, his passionate love for us. You know, that passion that Jesus showed on the cross, a crucifixion was not a quick thing at all. But he did that for us so that we could have life in him. And we're going to pray a prayer together saying yes to this life that Jesus has for us. And if you want this, man, as we pray this all together, God is going to ignite something in your heart, a brand new life. Let's pray together. Say, Jesus, thank you for dying and rising again for me. God, thank you for new life. I say yes to salvation through Jesus Christ. And I thank you for a brand new start today. Amen. Amen.